Hi everyone, it's time for another episode of Atoms for the Love of Movie Picks. This time around, we are going to be talking about the 1990 film Goodfellas. This one, before I do my video, I just want to give a shout out to my coworker Wes. He asked me to do this video for him, like the Goodfellas, and do a video on it. So here you go, Wes. I hope you enjoy it. So, the movie is based on a true story. It centers around three gangsters, really. Mainly Henry Hill, who was played by Ray Liotta. You got Robert De Niro, who plays James Conway or Jimmy Conway, and you've got Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito. Basically, it centers around their lives in the New York Italian Mafia in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. And again, it's based all on a true story. Some of the other actors that you may recognize that are in this film. You've got Lorraine Bracco, who plays Karen Hill, Henry's wife. Paul Sorvino plays Paul Cicero. And that's pretty much about the only other ones that I really recognize in this one. Basically, the movie, like I said, what it centers around, but it actually mainly centers around Henry Hill and his long career in the mafia, as well as his personal life, almost 3 decades in the mafia. The film starts off briefly in 1970 in New York with the three main characters driving in a car. They end up pulling over to finish off a guy in their trunk, basically, finish the hit, as you would say. After that, the film then it basically goes in chronological order after that. It goes to Brooklyn, 1955 in Brooklyn, with Henry Hill as a teenager, wanting to work for the mob under mob boss Paulie. That's Paul Cicero. You really get a sense of how much Henry wanted to be and loved being a part of the mafia lifestyle and wanted to be a gangster. And eventually becoming a gangster when the time was right. Henry was still very young when he met Jimmy, who was quite a bit older than Henry. He was in his late 20s when they first met. And at that time, even though he was young, Jimmy was already a legend in the mafia world. Jimmy was had been working for the mob since the age of 11, and he was doing mob hits at the age of 16. That is just insane. Henry then meets Tommy through Jimmy when they are both still teenagers. Henry gets arrested for the first time for selling stolen cigarettes at a factory. And then the following scene, when Henry comes out of the courtroom after getting pinched for the first time, that's what the mob guys call getting arrested. And all the gangsters are outside the courtroom congratulating him for breaking his getting pinched cherry. It's pretty funny. Fast forward to 1963, and Henry and Tommy are making a living ripping off cargo shipments at Idlewild Airport. Tommy is a really funny guy, and basically the whole scene that follows, he basically Henry says to him, hey, you're a funny guy, and Tommy goes on, but I'm funny how? Funny like a clown? I amuse you? How am I funny? Like, explain it to me. It's a whole thing that goes on for like 5 minutes. It's pretty funny, because Tommy's like got a screw loose, so he's messing with Henry, right? He's making him think he's about to kill him or something, but. It's pretty funny, and it's one of my favorite scenes in the Goodfellas movie, and it's quite comical. Then you move forward. Henry meets his future wife Karen on a double date with Tommy. Basically, Henry was just along to help Tommy out, so this girl that Tommy wanted to go with would go out because she wouldn't go out alone with Tommy, so she had to bring along a friend, and then Henry came along to as well. After the second date, Henry actually stands up Karen. And she's not impressed with this whatsoever. She doesn't care who this guy is. And she basically goes to the cab stand where all the mafia guys are hanging out, where Henry is, after standing her up. And he finds out what a loaded pistol she really is, and she's not to be messed with. And at that moment, he knows that he's got to marry this woman. Like, she is she's not like other women, and he loves her for it. And then you fast forward, Henry and Tommy get a big score of almost $500,000, like $500,000, stealing a big cash cargo load from the airport. Um, and then you got the scene with Jimmy and the wig guy, Murray, I believe his name is pretty funny and unique. And this, the scene with Henry and the creep across the street from where Karen lives, living with her parents. Basically the guy, he tried to feel her up kind of thing, and Henry was not having any of that, and he attacks him pretty viciously and pretty much beats him within an inch of his life. Says, "You ever touch her again, I'm gonna kill you." And not long after that, Karen kind of realizes this man will do anything for her, pretty much kill for her, and they end up getting married. Life moves along, and Henry and Karen have kids, live a somewhat normal family life outside of Henry's dealings with the mafia. Henry is doing his gangster stuff with Jimmy and Tommy for Polly, with Karen running things at home until June 1970, when Jimmy and Tommy they end up killing a guy by the name, another fellow mobster from a rival crew by the name of Billy Bats, the guy in the trunk at the beginning of the movie, who is a made guy, which is a big thing in the mafia, and part of the Gambino crew, and was considered untouchable. When you're a made guy, you cannot be touched without the consent of a mob boss. So basically, Tommy and Jimmy killing this guy, it was a big no-no. And Henry just happened to be there at the time it happened, and they basically all conspired to keep this covered up so to save their hides. And then the scene, they have to go back 6 months later to move Billy Bats' body because where they buried him is going to be developed. It's just nasty, you can almost smell the smell through the screen just by the actors' reactions to it. Then moving forward, the next scene, Tommy, he shoots a young guy serving drinks at a poker game between the mob guys by the name of Spider. He shoots him in the foot, for not serving him his drinks fast enough. Shows how nuts and violent Tommy really is. And then he ends up actually, in the next night, he ends up killing Spider just because Spider stood up to him because he was being mean to him. He'd already shot the guy in the foot, and he's being a jerk to him. And he just, kills him because he mouthed off to him. In the next scene, Karen figures out that Henry has been cheating on her for quite some time with a mistress, whom she tries to confront. It's quite the interesting scene. Then in the next scene, where Karen, wakes up Henry by sitting on top of him with a loaded gun pointed in his face, is an especially interesting scene. When Henry, and then of course, especially after Henry gets the gun from her, turns the tables on her. Then Jimmy and Henry end up getting 10 years in prison for money laundering and extortion after roughing up a guy in Florida whose sister just happens to work for the FBI as a typist. So when Henry gets out, Karen is there waiting for him to show that she really is in it for the long haul and she really supports him. Not long after, Henry, he did a little bit on the inside in prison, but then he really starts doing it when he gets out. He starts selling drugs on the down low without Paulie's approval or knowledge, which is a big no-no. And on top of that, he's seeing another lady, a new mistress. He ends up bringing in Tommy and Jimmy to help him sell the drugs. Then the three of them along, to help him sell the drugs, so it's a lot easier for him, and they can all make a pretty good living off of it. Then the three of them, along with a few other gangsters, attempt to pull off what would be known as the Lufthansa heist. In total, they get about $6 million in cash. It's a big heist, a big deal. And Tommy, then he's getting word that he's going to become a made guy. And actually, the truth is, instead of being made into a made guy, he ends up getting whacked for what he did to Billy Bats. He got set up. Henry almost gets caught with the drugs not long after, but his wife has to destroy the drugs so the cops do not find them. And that gets Henry in a lot of trouble with the drug dealers and with the narc cops who have Henry and his crew and his whole family under surveillance, basically. So they kind of know what he's been doing. They just didn't have the physical drug evidence to make it stick. long term. And then Henry is now in trouble with Polly as well, because Polly now knows he was dealing drugs when he wasn't supposed to be. And Polly has to basically turn his back on Henry after all this time together. And, Henry is now all alone. So that's basically when Henry makes the difficult decision to rat on all of his mafia friends and ends up in witness protection program. Pardon me. Paulie actually ends up dying in prison in 1988 from a respiratory illness, so not long after he got put in prison. Jimmy ends up serving 20 years to life for murder. And, basically, as far as, a good movie, I mean, it's got an intricate storyline. It's amazing that it's all based on a true story, but, I mean, it's definitely a really good, intricate storyline. Very well put together. The acting is on point. I think the attention to detail was well done, and just a classic mob movie, right up there, I would say, with The Godfather. So definitely recommend checking out Goodfellas if you have never seen it. Even if you have, do yourself a favor, watch it again. You won't be disappointed. You can pretty much find it any place where movies are sold, and I'm pretty sure there's some streaming platforms that have it as well. Just the one thing, obviously, it's a serious adult content movie, so rated R. Would not recommend it for anybody under the age of 18. And yeah. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll catch you in the next ones, folks. Have yourselves a good one. All right, take care.